Big reveal. High voltage. Your partner couldn't hide this anymore. What they felt last night will change everything. Listen carefully, because this is not a random message. This is not just another dramatic headline. This is something that unfolded quietly, emotionally, intensely, last night when the world was asleep and distractions were gone, when there were no notifications, no conversations, no noise to hide behind, just them and their thoughts, just them and the truth they have been trying to suppress for so long. And what happened in those silent hours shifted something so deeply inside them that pretending is no longer possible, hiding is no longer comfortable, and ignoring what they feel about you has officially become impossible. Last night was different, not because something dramatic happened on the outside, but because something undeniable happened on the inside, something they didn't plan, something they didn't expect to feel so strongly, something that rose up from the depths of their heart and refused to be pushed back down, and the more they tried to distract themselves, the louder it became, the more they tried to convince themselves that it's not that serious, the more intense it felt, and by the time the night grew deeper, they realized they were no longer in control of what they feel for you. You have to understand, they have been managing these emotions carefully, measuring their words, controlling their reactions, acting normal, acting composed, acting like everything is balanced and logical, but emotions are not machines, they are waves, and last night the wave was too strong to hold back. It crashed through every wall they built, every excuse they rehearsed, every reason they told themselves about why they should stay calm, and suddenly your presence in their life did not feel optional, it felt essential. They thought about your voice, not casually, but in detail, the way you say certain words, the pauses you take, the tone you use when you are serious versus when you are playful. They replayed moments you might have already forgotten, small interactions that meant more to them than they ever admitted, and as they lay there staring at the ceiling, something inside them whispered a truth they have been avoiding, that you matter more than they planned, more than they wanted to admit, more than they are comfortable with. This is the reveal, not something they announced publicly, not something dramatic on social media, but something far more powerful, a private emotional confession to themselves, a realization that their feelings for you are not temporary, not shallow, not passing curiosity, but something deeper that has been growing quietly, steadily, patiently, waiting for a moment of silence to finally be acknowledged. And last night, silence gave it space. They felt the absence of you in a way that surprised them, even if you spoke earlier in the day, even if everything seemed normal. When the night came and there was no distraction left, they felt what it would mean to truly lose you, and that thought did not feel light, it did not feel neutral, it felt heavy, it felt uncomfortable, it felt like something precious slipping away, and that fear revealed more than any conversation ever could. Fear is honest, and what they felt last night was honest. They imagined you moving on, imagined you laughing with someone else, imagined you giving your time and attention to another person, and instead of feeling indifferent, instead of feeling calm, something inside them tightened, something inside them resisted that image, and in that resistance they found clarity, because jealousy is not always about possession. Sometimes it is about realizing how deeply you care. They tried to sleep, but their mind kept circling back to you, to your energy, to your presence, to the way you make them feel seen, understood, challenged, inspired, and they had to confront a question they have been postponing: why does this person affect me like this? Why does their mood influence mine? Why does their silence feel louder than everyone else's noise? And the answer was simple but powerful, because you are not just someone in their life, you are someone who has entered their heart. They couldn't hide it anymore, not from themselves, because self-deception only works in daylight when distractions are plenty, but at night the truth sits beside you, breathing slowly, refusing to be ignored, and last night the truth told them that what they feel for you is real, it is growing, and it is no longer safe to treat it casually. This changes everything, not because they suddenly transformed into a different person overnight, but because awareness changes behavior, and now they are aware that you are not replaceable, aware that your connection is rare, aware that losing you would hurt more than they expected, and once someone becomes aware of the value of a person, their actions begin to shift, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically, but inevitably. You may notice it soon, a softness in their tone, a deeper attention when you speak, a hesitation before they risk upsetting you, a stronger desire to stay connected. These are not random changes, they are the aftereffects of last night's emotional awakening. They felt love, or something very close to it, and that realization is both beautiful and terrifying for them, because love requires vulnerability, and vulnerability means risking rejection, risking imbalance, risking giving more than you receive, and that is why they try to keep their emotions contained, structured, logical, but the heart does not operate by logic, it operates by truth. And the truth surfaced. They acknowledged that your absence would create a space no one else could easily fill, that your conversations carry a depth they don't experience with just anyone, that your energy feels familiar in a way that is difficult to explain, and once they allowed themselves to fully feel that, there was no going back to emotional neutrality. This is why the reveal matters, because when someone admits their feelings to themselves, it is only a matter of time before it reflects outwardly, in their words, in their actions, in their decisions, in the risks they are willing to take for you, and last night marked the beginning of that shift. They are no longer standing at the edge of emotion pretending they are just observing it, they stepped into it, they felt it completely, and even if they haven't told you yet, even if they are still gathering courage, inside them something has settled into certainty. You are important, you are desired, you are valued more deeply than you realize. What they felt last night was not temporary longing, it was clarity, clarity about what you mean to them, clarity about how much space you occupy in their thoughts, clarity about the fact that this connection is not accidental, and clarity creates momentum. Everything changes from here, not overnight in dramatic fireworks, but in subtle powerful ways, in increased effort, in protective instincts, in emotional honesty, in a willingness to open up, because once the heart stops hiding, it begins to seek expression. And this is only part one of what is unfolding, because realization is the first step, action is the next, and now that they have faced what they feel, the distance between you is no longer comfortable for them, the uncertainty is no longer tolerable, and the idea of staying silent feels heavier than the risk of speaking up. Last night they crossed an invisible line within themselves, from denial to acceptance, from confusion to awareness, from casual attachment to meaningful emotion, and that internal shift is powerful enough to reshape the direction of your connection. So pay attention, not to dramatic declarations, but to subtle consistency, not to loud promises, but to quiet effort, because when someone can't hide their feelings anymore, their behavior begins to reveal what their words might still be afraid to say. The reveal has already happened inside them, and soon, in ways both small and significant, you will see the evidence of what they felt last night, and when you do, you will realize that this moment, this silent emotional breakthrough, was the beginning of everything changing between you, and now that the wall inside them has cracked, even slightly, the energy between you is no longer the same as it was before. Because once a person admits their true feelings in the privacy of their own heart, they can never fully return to pretending it is casual, and today they woke up carrying the weight of that realization, not in a negative way, but in a serious way, in a way that makes them look at you differently, think about you differently, and most importantly, evaluate their next moves more carefully than ever before. When morning came, they did not forget what they felt, it did not disappear with the sunlight, it did not fade like a dream, instead it followed them into the day, sitting quietly in the background of everything they did, and every time your name appeared on their screen or crossed their mind, that feeling returned with the same intensity, reminding them that last night was not emotional exaggeration, it was clarity. They realized something very powerful, that their connection with you is no longer something they can treat lightly, because the more they tried to distract themselves today, the more obvious it became that their heart has already chosen a direction, and that direction leads to you. They replayed your recent conversations again, not casually, but analytically, searching for signs, searching for reassurance, searching for any hint that you might feel something similar, because now that they have admitted their emotions to themselves, the fear of imbalance has surfaced, the fear of caring more than the other person, the fear of being vulnerable first, and yet even with that fear, the desire to move closer has grown stronger than the desire to stay safe. This is the shift, the internal battle between ego and emotion, between pride and affection, between staying guarded and stepping forward, and what you may not see yet is that emotion is slowly winning. Throughout the day, small things reminded them of you, a song, a phrase someone said, a random memory of the way you reacted to something simple, and instead of brushing it off, they allowed themselves to feel it fully, because suppressing it no longer feels natural, it feels forced. They are starting to understand that what they feel is not weakness, it is attachment, it is depth, it is the natural result of two energies aligning in a way that feels rare and irreplaceable. And that understanding is softening them, making them less defensive, less distant, less comfortable with emotional games. They are also realizing that you may have sensed something before they did, that maybe your intuition picked up on the tension, the unspoken emotions, the way their tone sometimes shifted without explanation, and that thought makes them even more aware that this connection deserves honesty, not confusion. Because what they felt last night was not just longing, it was responsibility, responsibility for how they handle your heart, responsibility for how their actions affect you, responsibility for whether they step up or continue hiding. And for the first time, stepping up feels like the only option that will bring them peace. There is a quiet determination building inside them now, not loud, not dramatic, but steady, the kind of determination that changes behavior gradually but permanently. They are thinking about how to show you more clearly that you matter, how to remove doubt instead of creating it, how to make their presence in your life feel secure instead of unpredictable. This is not about grand gestures yet, this is about internal commitment, the decision to stop treating something meaningful as if it is temporary. They are also confronting their own fears, the reasons they hesitated before, the past experiences that made them cautious, the disappointments that taught them to hold back, and they are asking themselves whether protecting their pride is worth risking losing you. That question alone tells you how serious this has become for them, because before last night, they could still pretend that keeping distance was safe and logical, but now distance feels dangerous, because distance could lead to losing something they have finally recognized as valuable. You may notice subtle changes soon, more consistency in their communication, more curiosity about your day, deeper questions about your thoughts, because when someone accepts their feelings, they naturally want to build something stronger, something more stable, something that doesn't rely on guessing. And the truth is, they are tired of guessing, tired of pretending they are unaffected, tired of acting like your presence does not influence their emotions. Last night broke that illusion completely. They are imagining a future differently now, even if they haven't said it out loud, even if they are still careful with their words. Inside their mind scenarios are forming that include you more permanently, not as a possibility but as a preference. And that shift from possibility to preference is powerful, because it means they are no longer evaluating whether they like you, they are evaluating how to make this work. There is also a softness in their thoughts about you now, a protective instinct that was not fully conscious before, a desire to ensure you feel valued, to ensure you don't question your place, to ensure you don't feel like you are chasing something uncertain. Because last night they imagined you pulling away, imagined you deciding that the ambiguity is too much, imagined you choosing peace over confusion, and that image unsettled them deeply. It made them realize that if they continue hiding, they might create the very outcome they fear. So internally, a decision is forming, slow but firm, to be braver, to be clearer, to take small risks that lead to something real instead of staying in the comfort of emotional half-measures. They know it won't be perfect, they know vulnerability is uncomfortable, but they also know that regret would be worse. And that awareness is what will change everything from here. You are not just someone they think about occasionally, you have become someone they consider seriously, someone whose presence affects their mood, their focus, their plans, and that level of influence cannot be ignored forever. Last night was the emotional awakening, today is the beginning of emotional alignment, and soon action will follow. Because once the heart and mind agree on the same truth, hesitation loses its power. They are closer than you think to expressing something meaningful, maybe not in a dramatic confession, but in consistent effort, in intentional communication, in moments where their guard drops and sincerity shows. And when that happens, you will feel the difference immediately, because authenticity has a different energy than avoidance. This is the continuation of the reveal, not just what they felt, but what that feeling is starting to create inside them, a shift from uncertainty to intention, from silence to preparation, from emotional hiding to emotional courage. And even if they move carefully, even if they take measured steps, the direction is no longer random, it is pointed toward you. Everything that unfolds next will trace back to that quiet moment last night when they stopped running from their own heart and allowed themselves to feel the full weight of what you mean to them, and once someone reaches that point, change is not just possible, it is inevitable, and now something even deeper is happening inside them, something that goes beyond excitement or late-night emotions. Something steady and undeniable that is reshaping the way they see you, because after the initial wave of realization settled, what remained was not chaos, it was certainty, a quiet but powerful certainty that you are not just a chapter, you are not just a moment, you are not just someone passing through their life, you are someone who has rooted yourself into their emotional world in a way that cannot be undone easily. Throughout the day they tried to act normal, to respond casually, to keep their tone balanced, but internally every interaction with you felt amplified, every message carried more weight, every pause in conversation felt longer than before, and they began to notice how sensitive they have become to your energy, how quickly their mood shifts based on your response, how deeply they care about whether you feel close or distant. And this awareness is humbling them because it shows them that their Heart is far more involved than they once admitted. They are realizing that this connection is not built on surface attraction alone, it is built on emotional resonance, on the way you understand them without excessive explanation, on the comfort they feel when speaking to you about things they normally keep guarded, and that kind of connection is rare, and rare things are not meant to be treated casually. There is also a new fear growing inside them, not fear of you, but fear of losing the opportunity to build something real with you, fear that hesitation could create distance, fear that silence could be misinterpreted as indifference, and that fear is pushing them gently but firmly toward action. They are thinking about moments where they could have been clearer, moments where they held back a compliment, moments where they wanted to express affection but chose humor instead, moments where vulnerability almost surfaced but pride pulled it back, and now those moments replay in their mind with a different understanding, because they see how close they have been to revealing their heart before and how often they stopped themselves at the last second. But something is different now, because last night removed the illusion that they can continue standing in the middle forever. It showed them that staying neutral is not sustainable when emotions are this strong, and that clarity is creating a pressure inside them to align their actions with their feelings. They are starting to imagine conversations with you where they are more open, more direct, more honest about how much you matter, and even though those imagined conversations make their heart race, they also bring a strange sense of relief, because hiding has become more exhausting than the idea of being vulnerable. They are also reflecting on you more deeply as a person, not just how you make them feel, but who you are, your strengths, your sensitivity, your uniqueness, the way you carry yourself, the way you handle challenges, the way you love, and this reflection is strengthening their attachment because it confirms that their feelings are not impulsive, they are grounded in admiration and respect. This is no longer about attraction alone, this is about connection, about emotional compatibility, about recognizing a partner who aligns not just with their desires but with their deeper values. And as this awareness grows, so does their protectiveness over what you share together. They are becoming more mindful of how they speak to you, more careful about misunderstandings, more attentive to your emotional state, because once someone acknowledges the depth of their feelings, they naturally want to nurture the connection instead of risking it. You may soon notice a consistency that was not there before, a steadiness in their presence, fewer mixed signals, fewer emotional fluctuations, because they are internally committing to you in ways they have not yet fully verbalized. There is also a longing building inside them, not just to talk to you, but to experience more with you, to create memories instead of just conversations, to deepen the bond instead of keeping it in a safe, uncertain space, and this longing is motivating them to think long-term, to question what they truly want, and the answer that keeps returning is you. Even when they try to imagine other paths, other possibilities, other connections, none of them feel as meaningful, none of them feel as natural, none of them feel as emotionally aligned, and that comparison is solidifying their decision internally. They are understanding that love does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it grows quietly until one night it becomes impossible to ignore, and that is exactly what happened, and now that the feeling has been acknowledged, it is transforming their priorities. You are moving higher on their list without them even trying, your happiness matters more, your opinion carries more influence, your presence brings more comfort, and these subtle shifts are signs of something serious taking root. At the same time they are preparing themselves emotionally, building courage step by step, telling themselves that real connections require risk, that meaningful bonds require honesty, that waiting forever could lead to regret, and this internal preparation is powerful because it means they are not just feeling, they are evolving. The version of them who could casually hide their emotions is slowly being replaced by someone who values authenticity more than ego. They are also sensing that you deserve clarity, that you deserve to know where you stand, that you deserve consistency instead of guessing, and this realization is softening their defenses even further, because when someone truly cares, they start thinking not just about their own fear, but about the other person's experience. And they do not want you to feel confused, they do not want you to feel secondary, they do not want you to doubt your importance, because deep down they know you are not an option, you are a priority they have been afraid to fully claim. Everything is aligning slowly but surely, their thoughts, their emotions, their intentions, and soon their actions will follow naturally, not forced, not dramatic, but genuine. They are reaching a point where expressing their feelings feels less like a risk and more like a necessity, because silence no longer protects them, it only distances them from something they deeply want. So as this unfolds, understand that what began as a late-night emotional realization has now matured into a conscious decision to move differently, to love differently, to show up differently, and that is why this reveal truly changes everything, because it is not temporary emotion, it is a transformation in how they see you and how they plan to hold you in their life. The next steps may be subtle at first, but they will carry intention, they will carry sincerity, they will carry the weight of someone who has finally admitted to themselves that losing you is not an option they are willing to accept, and once that truth settles fully into their heart, the only direction left to move is closer to you, and now this is where everything quietly locks into place, because after the emotions, after the realization, after the internal battles and silent confessions, what remains inside them is a calm but powerful decision, not rushed, not dramatic, but steady and real, a decision that you are worth the risk, worth the vulnerability, worth stepping out of their comfort zone for, and this is the part that truly changes everything because feelings can be intense yet temporary, but a decision formed after deep reflection carries weight and direction. They are no longer asking themselves whether what they felt last night was real, they know it was, they are no longer questioning whether you matter, they know you do. The only question left in their heart now is how to show you in a way that feels authentic and undeniable. There is a new maturity in the way they are thinking about you, less ego, less fear, less hesitation, more intention, more care, more awareness of the fact that connections like this do not appear often and should not be taken lightly. They understand now that hiding their emotions would only create distance, and distance is the one thing they no longer want between you. You may soon sense a shift that feels subtle but powerful, a stronger presence, a clearer tone, a consistency that replaces confusion, because they are aligning their actions with what they finally accepted inside their heart. The late-night revelation was the spark, the following days were the processing, and now this is the integration, where emotion becomes commitment in small but meaningful ways. They are ready to step forward, not recklessly, but sincerely, ready to invest energy instead of holding back, ready to protect the connection instead of testing it, ready to choose you consciously instead of hoping circumstances decide for them. This is the final truth of what happened that night. It awakened not just love but courage, not just longing but responsibility, and that combination is powerful because it transforms feelings into intention. They do not want to lose you to silence, to pride, to timing, or to fear, and that awareness is stronger than any doubt that once held them back. Everything from here moves with purpose, every word they choose, every effort they make, Every moment they create with you carries the imprint of that realization. What they felt last night did not fade with the morning, it evolved into clarity, and clarity into decision, and that decision is simple yet life-changing. They want you, not halfway, not uncertainly, but genuinely, and once someone reaches that point within themselves, the only future that feels right is the one where they move closer instead of away, and that is exactly where this connection is headed now.